Hello, listeners, and welcome to the 69th episode of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. I'm Jacob, and on this episode, I'm joined by
Duncan,
Jack,
Jamie,
and John.
And we're glad to have you with us. Before we kick things off for the show, we want to make sure that we take a moment to thank our sponsors, and that means starting with our patrons. Join the Heresy Accountabilibuddies podcast over at patreon.com and get the opportunity to have some exclusive chat with the hosts, as well as the opportunity to get previews of upcoming merch. Likewise, we want to make sure that we thank longtime sponsors of the channel, Elric's Hobbies, as well as Monument Hobbies, and our newest sponsor, Pop Goes the Monkey. At each of these vendors, you can use our various affiliate links and or the code HERESYABB for a discount at checkout. And with that having been said, guys, I don't quite know what we've got in store this episode, but let's go ahead and tee it off with some hobby progress.
Sure.
I can kick us off. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so before I got laid off, I'd placed an order with a 3D cast or a 3D printer for some Cobra parts and some other stuff, and that finally came in this week. And so I've been doing just a little bit of cleanup and sorting on those parts. Not a lot else. Go ahead, Jack.
I was on the road this week, but I did manage to put together a 3D printed Ultramarines their deal that I got on scale. So I rescaled it, and now I'm printing another one. And then 30 Marine bodies, and my travel kit worked successfully. What about you, Duncan?
the past since our last recording was technically 2 weeks ago. I have assembled a new character, assembled a new dreadnought for the Blood Angels. I've completed the paint entirely on the Angels Tears unit. And I got them sealed. All I need to do now on them is get their weapons with the power weapon glow and get their decals done, seal them, and then do their bases. And then it's on to working on the dreadnoughts. I also ordered and had arrive my Christmas gift to my friend Trevor, who is now getting into Word Bearers. I got him pretty much all the special characters and some Galverback and a Margal.
Did you get him that one special character we don't name?
Yeah, I got him that one special character we don't name. Yeah. He was happy to have that guy. So I'm thinking he's going to be using that guy. I'm thinking he's going to use that special character just as a distraction card effects for everyone who wants to kill him, which makes me happy. And Jack, I happen to have something for you at the house as well, which is named a Mastodon.
That's amazing. I have something for you here that's called Land Raider and bases and flight stand sims and possibly the bird.
Ooh, I always like getting the bird. So that's what I've got done this week. I also set up our web shop, and I routed our website to our link tree. John set up the link tree, so thank you, John, for that. Yep. But I've got all our new artwork available on T-shirts, regular hoodies, and zip-up hoodies now. And I have posters of the new art that'll also be available for people to pick up at Adepticon. That can all be found at heresypodcast.com, which will also give you a link to the various social medias where you can find the podcast, including our LinkedIn account, our YouTube account, our Facebook group, our Spotify link, I think, and the social media for myself, Jack, Dan, John, and I think Jamie, if you have Instagram.
Social media? What? No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So probably not Jamie then.
But that's all man. I don't have that stuff. What are you talking about?
All right. I also worked some stuff out with Lucas and with Zach regarding Adepticon, regarding the Toys for Tots army that we were going to be doing the Toys for Tots for. The charity auction is no longer going to be done for Toys for Tots, but I will let Jamie discuss that. But that will be eligible or available for raffle purposes at Adepticon. For anyone who's interested in getting in on that, just get with us at Adepticon. Jamie, what have you done? And talk about the other part.
Okay, so I've been quite busy, but I've been able to squeeze in some hobby in. I have base coated and primed three 10-man Irredemptor squads. I've actually painted up a Inducti squad, Dark Angel Inducti squad, and then I've built and primed a Contemptor, a Duradio, however anybody wants to call it, and Deradeo, and then I've also built and primed another Venerable Contemptor Dreadnought, and I'm working on doing like mass quantities of base mud, like bases, putting texture mud on them and painting them right now to get ready for all these squads. So it's kind of like an assembly line. It doesn't look like a whole lot's getting done, but it's just like the volume of stuff that I'm having to do is just kind of shadowing the actual progress that I've made. So, and I guess the other news is that we are going to do the Toys for Tots raffle, or the formerly Toys for Tots raffle at Adepticon. So instead of like going on eBay and trying to bid on the army, the Wordbearer army, you're going to be able to, at Adepticon, purchase a raffle ticket or a number of raffle tickets for the army, and we are going to draw for that, and some lucky person is going to end up walking away with a 3,000 plus point Wordbearer's army, including pretty much every named character other than the Blade Slaves, I think, if I remember correctly, and some demon cohorts to go with it. And there's some other swag that will be available with it that will go with it as well. So it's a pretty impressive lot. We've been getting pics from the Brian that has been painting everything. And some of it's quite, especially the demon units, are quite jaw-dropping, to say the least, the amount of detail he's worked in on them. Everybody should be very, very happy. But so, I don't know how to say this. But yeah, the money is all going towards, we're going to donate the money that we've raised from the auction to John to help pay for funeral expenses for his wife.
It's the same place that we're putting any profits and proceeds from the poster sales that we'll be doing at Adepticon, and from all the attire sales from the merch store.
Thank you.
John, our brother, has unfortunately suffered a tremendous loss, and I know that everyone has been really reaching out and talking to you and saying we're all here for you, and it's the truth, brother. I mean, if there's anything anyone can do, we're here to do it.
I couldn't have asked for a better community to be part of.
Yeah.
John, we're happy to help out in any way we can, man, and this is just a small token of the community and our goodwill and friendship towards you, man. We're sorry that you're having to go through this, and it's just a little thing that we can try to do to help you out.
Thank you.
Yep. It's very, very dusty in here.
Yeah, a little dusty. Other than that, Jake, you done anything?
Most of my work is still been going into getting the podcast edited and put out, and continuing wedding plans with my fiance and I, and to that end, I suppose it's as good a moment as any to indicate that with circumstances being what they are in my life right now, I will be taking an indefinite leave of absence from the show. I've been noticing, and I hope our listeners have not been noticing, that there's been more and more content that I've been cutting from myself, or wishing I had cut from myself, since I for sure made my way the direction of taking a harder break with Heresy, just finding that the current direction of the game, and or maybe my most immediate community have been going, was not was not healthy for me. Was not the direction I wanted to be going. And as we set about really moving and continuing to push this podcast as a place to celebrate the hobby and to bring positivity and to be positive, I noticed that I was less and less a part of that. And I don't want to be that person, and I think this community deserves better people. And so I am extremely confident that I am leaving this show in the best hands it has ever had. Jack will be honorably taking over the duties of at least editing episodes. I don't know if he's going to be handling hosting. I know that John has been exceedingly gracious on more than one occasion to play host when I've been unavailable or indisposed in various capacities. But regardless, I'll see if I can't come back. I don't know if or when that looks like. I know I still love you guys dearly. I'm really hoping that I'll get the chance to bump into at least one or two of you as best I'm able at the upcoming Martinsville Heresy that's going to be going down. I think that's February 24th. I was actually, funny enough, planning that day as a Battletech community day and couldn't quite get the event posted before Nick got his. So I will work on rescheduling a Battletech community day, figuring out if or what that's going to look like, if there's a chance for a more organized play opportunity. But that's a very separate game from what you guys are going to be getting together for. Again, that is going to be February 24th at the Battle Barn in Martinsville, Indiana. I will make sure that either myself, Nick, Duncan, or Jack, one of us gets the event posted on the Heresy Accountabilibuddies page. If you've never made it out, it's a phenomenal space. Ryan has a gorgeous pole barn that he has kind of built for us. At one point included him. Technically still does, even though Heresy is no longer his penchant. But gorgeous tables. I think he's actually taken his tables to Adepticon once or twice. I believe he also may have done so for Michigan once or twice. I don't know.
He did. He took it to Heresy Camp as well.
Yeah, Heresy Camp would for sure be the other place folks would have seen it from. Really, really high quality tables. Obviously, I'd like to shamelessly say high quality people show up and play there.
Yep.
Generally,
Only
people.
the best.
Yeah. If you hear us wax poetic about the games that get played at Adepticon, or even the way that Alex and Blake talked about LVO on our last show, where people are there for the camaraderie and the narrative, and winning comes later, those are the kind of folks you'll find there. So we'll hope the opportunity arises to see you there.
Jacob, I just want to say you're always welcome. You know that, and we're sorry to have you take a break or a pause or however you want to call it, but we understand, and you're always welcome to come back whenever you'd like to.
Of course.
Yep.
I'd be lying if I said that I had Battlescribe removed from my phone. I haven't. And I'd be lying if I said I hadn't built a list about once a month, because I have. And it's difficult to know how much of the problem I am at this point when I look at those lists that I write and wonder, okay, so how's this actually going to play on tabletop? And I don't know. It's surreal. Previously, when gaming communities and I have gone separate ways, it's been over matters that we'll say have by and large been out of our hands. When I stopped playing Battletech or Monster Apocalypse, it was because those games stopped existing, not necessarily because I stopped being interested. And even though, to an extent, Age of Sigmar could be classed that same sort of way. For me, Age of Sigmar was so divergent from what I had with fantasy that it didn't feel the same as this. And it's a lot to process. And quite frankly, as much as I would like to say or hope that I've fully unpacked it, I think what I've said here tonight demonstrates that that's not the case. That there's still a lot to look at and talk about for a hobby that's been part of my life for 15 plus years, and has brought such incredible, amazing people and memories as what this has. I think so. Jamie, I have not met in person.
Yep.
Jack and have I?
Yes. Oh yes, you have.
When was
I've
that?
met you up at the barn. When I used to be able to come up to the barn, you were always up there.
Well, I'll be darned. I must be blanking on that, and I apologize for that. I was going to say
I'm a very forgettable person.
Now, I did not say that. I know that Jack and Duncan make a point to come up very, very regularly. I don't know that I got a game in against John, but I do distinctly recall it was 2021 at Music City, and he had brought his Cobra militia, and I was so completely floored by that army. That I would put kind of the next level above. So we talk about the guy who's running the event in Martinsville, Nick. He loves Tyranids, and he has loved Tyranids for as long as I've known him. So he, as sort of a secret pet project, slowly cobbled together a Genestealer cult militia army and got that painted approximately without telling anybody in the community, other than the guy who he commissioned to paint it for him, that he was doing it. And that was such a cool thing, right up there with like Ryan's Black Shields. These heavily conversion-based armies that are so demonstrably passion projects that have such a visible handprint above and beyond a standard army, with how they come to the table and how they play and the character that's in them. That's phenomenal. And I am so excited for the community that the Beta Garmin rules are finally bringing, I believe it's Black Shields, back to the game.
Yep.
I'm thrilled that we've, in the last, 6 or 8 months, we've brought militia back into the game. We've brought some of these armies that people feel more inspired and more empowered to put their own spin on than what the legions are typically seen as or demonstrated as. And obviously, that's not 100% the case. Again, last show, I am drawn to the guy who ran a pre-Heresy Blood Angels army with a definitely not Sanguinius at the helm. That's clearly a passion project. That's not to say that nobody else's armies are passion projects, but once somebody's gone that deep onto lore and models and paint scheme, to find, like, to say, I have the receipts, I can prove that this wildly deviant army is canon, allegedly, anyway. That's incredible. Yeah. I don't always know what else more there is to say about it.
That really kind of personifies a lot what I like about the Heresy community. I never got into D&D, and the big joke was always, let me tell you about my character, and then they'd spend 6 hours. Heresy has always really been it's not just let me tell you about it, but let me show you it. Let me show you you can see and hold the passion I put into the project.
Yep. That's one thing that shows so well in John's Cobra army. in John's Ultramarines, in Jack's Ultramarines.
Duncan, you were giddy about it on the last show too, when I think it was Alex got to talking about how, man, it's really tough to get away from the Paragon Blade and Thunderhammer character, and you were like, "Nah, man, I've got a World Eaters HQ choice that I'm working on right now, and he's dual Falx Blades."
Yep.
And that's not to say that dual Falx Blades aren't a very good option. They sure are. But relative to the same bog standard option that anybody's HQ choice can take, just really cool there.
Yeah, and that's what I think is part of what draws the Heresy community together. It's that most of us, we're all in this together. We're all building stuff that we want because we want it to look cool. You'll see people like myself who build a World Eaters army entirely around the Battle of Armatura, or build a Sons of Horus army entirely around the events in the book Saturnine. And people sit there and will pick out their favorite battles from their favorite book, or just from the lore, or even come up with something. And it's always so unique and so different. And you never see more than one person building the same army the same way, because it just doesn't work. Because everyone's got their own, the stuff that makes them tick and that makes the army tick for them, and makes their, just gives them their hobby hard on for the hobby itself. I mean, it's just, we all work differently, but when we collectively put our stuff together to work on our armies, and you put them all on the table, and you sit there and you see them all side by side by side by side, it's just major hobby chubby. That's all I can say. Seeing the passion that everyone puts into their stuff is just one of the things I've always loved about the Heresy community.
I mean, I know, when we build lists and stuff, I've never really kind of gone for the meta. I usually always try to go for fluff, what I really like about each legion's background and stuff. And I kind of laugh it off because I just go with kind of, to be honest with you, my heart when I build lists and stuff like that. And then I've had a bunch of people recently tell me that they love my list, even though they may not be the most powerful thing on the tabletop. It brings the fluff and the theme of the legions to a T, instead of just plain Jane, last cannon teams or whatever. And to me, that makes me feel really good, about the community, that it's not just power meta. It's taking time to actually think about, the background and the fluff behind the legions, and trying to build it to that,
Yep.
So, and I mean, honestly, you can, one of the best examples is last year at Adepticon. You could literally, I have pictures of every army that was played in Heresy, and you'd be hard pressed to find, out of probably about 120 plus tables, any duplicate armies. Every army was unique or had its own thing going for it. I mean, you did see a lot of legions that a lot of people were definitely favoring, but the army builds were each unique in their own special little way. So, and that you don't normally see that in a lot of the war games.
Yeah, that's one thing I think that makes Heresy kind of stand out versus a lot of other war games. A lot of games you can't really sit there and convert your own stuff and make your own fluff for your own units or your own regiment or your own army. And a lot of companies actively discourage people converting miniatures. I know that in War Machine you really can't do that. I don't know why, you just can't. Obviously things like bolt action you can't, because it's not historically accurate.
Right.
But where we are playing the historical, the 40K, the version of Warhammer that is the historical version, I think it just sings to people, if that makes sense.
I think that it is a tremendous testament to this community, and I think it's kind of a bedrock for it at this point, that for as much as I lament the way Games Workshop continues to treat it, very clearly there are real benefits to not having an official event circuit. to not having a company tell you, no, you must run the official sculpt. Yes, it must be posed in this way. Yes, its silhouette must look like this. Yes, your table must... Yeah, your table has to be laid out exactly so, and it must be precisely balanced for both sides for this specific mission. That's a problem that the Heresy community has, and hopefully never will have to manage, because they've been so independent and left to their own devices for so long, that it exists more as a testament to the passions, and maybe for certain players and legions, their bitterness against Games Workshop, rather than because of the specific cultivation. It's the dandelion popping out between the cracks in the sidewalk while the rose garden struggles.
Yep,
No,
that makes sense.
I mean, I will say that I know one thing the Heresy community really has been big on is our terrain that goes with the narratives and everything. Like, I mean, the amount of work that I know that John personally puts into his tables and the thought process of like what he's putting on his tables. And, you know, same thing like when Ryan was playing Heresy, like his tables that he built, like they were from, you know, there was a theme directly from the lore as to why he built the tables, why he built them, the way he built them, excuse me. And a lot of the TOs have really put a lot of their I'm not going to say they've really put a lot into ensuring that the terrain really sets the mood for the narrative, and then the story to go along with it like really goes a long way to that really helps the community to stay the way it is. You know what I'm saying? Like it really fosters and promotes. So like when people come into these events and they see us playing on the crazy terrain that we build and make, and the narratives that the story that we're telling with the narrative and stuff, it draws people into that. They love seeing that. You know what I'm saying? Versus, you know, seeing the same, you know, out of the box terrain that you're getting now for a lot of the game systems. They have, you know, it's just plain. It's not. Well, I mean, it's mirrored terrain and it's more for making stuff even or as possible balanced for you know, tournament play. So versus like actually telling a story.
Yeah, and that's kind of one thing that I think's always kind of stood out is that people, when they go through like a big event and there's Heresy tables there, they'll pause, they'll look at the Heresy tables, and they'll say, "Geez, this looks amazing." And when you combine amazing looking armies with amazing looking tables, and people sitting there very visibly having a wonderful time playing the game, having fun, chatting, enjoying themselves, cutting up, having fun. I mean, it kind of presents all the positive aspects of the hobby that I really think drew us as gamers originally to the hobby themselves.
It's like what Alex was saying on the last show is that, you know, there's discussion about moving the Heresy tables up front and center at LVO because generally those are the tables that are the most gregarious and the most, you know, having fun and laugh and camaraderie available out of the entire tournament, and they want that up front promoted because it draws people in. You know,
it does. I mean, I remember very clearly the first time I ever played real 40K back in the mid '90s on a real table that didn't have like books for hills, but like had actual terrain. I remember very much seeing the scratch built terrain and the space cactus that someone had built for the table, modeled off of the styrofoam egg with the toothpicks that was taken right out of GW's White Dwarf magazine. And I saw that, and I had my terribly painted Blood Angel army, and I was like, half of it or more wasn't even painted. And I was just like, wow, this looks amazing. This is what I want to play. I love this. And back then, young teenage Duncan was like, ooh. And now when I sit there and I'm looking at an awesome Heresy table with beautifully painted armies, and even if they're not mine, and seeing people having fun, I'm like, yeah, this is why I love this hobby.
Yeah.
See, for me, it was a little different. In the beginning, I started fantasy, And when I went to the shop to try to find a fantasy game, I couldn't find anybody. And the first game I saw was a couple guys playing Armored Company 40K, and they had paid professional painters to paint the armies. And I was maybe 14 at the time. He came up and said, "Oh, are those Forge World tanks?" And the guy turned to me, looked me right in the eye, and said, "Go to hell, kid."
Oof.
And at that literal day in time, I swore I would never say that to anyone, and no one would ever feel that way for a game that I was playing.
That's whoever that was. I hope you're listening, and I hope you understand that is the worst possible way to teach or introduce anybody into the community and games that we love.
Yeah, that almost got me out of gaming, but then I was like, no, I'm going to do better, and and I made sure that from then on I would keep everyone. I wanted to find a game that I liked. I wanted to find a game that those people weren't in, and I did.
And that's Heresy.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, one of my favorite things about Heresy is not just the tables. It's not just the beautiful armies and the passion that everyone puts into their stuff. Even if you pay someone to paint it, it's still your army. It's still your project. Even if you've paid for it to get done, it's still the theme you want. It's the sense of camaraderie that all of us have. We're all, or for the most part, I can't speak for everybody, but for the most part, we're all very welcoming. It's, oh, you're new to Heresy. Let's have an introductory game. Let's teach you how to play. Let's help you find stuff for your army. Let's get you some extra bits that I don't need for my stuff. Here you go. This is a box of 20 or 10 tactical marines I'll never end up using. These are some bits that I might not use, but you might choose to use for your army in the future. And I just love that fact about the Heresy people.
We had that over 20, 21, and 22. We had 2 or 3 guys who were looking to pick up, who were looking to join us. And I watched as an entire event worth of guys took their prize support, looked at the table, saw nothing they needed, nothing they couldn't live without, picked the next best thing to help start an army, hand it to the guys, and walk back in line.
I remember that. I remember doing that.
Yep. I actually think that one of them is just about to get his army back from Kurt. I really hope he's able to make it for the 24th.
That'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
Well, it's awesome until you realize he played Ultramarines.
No. I, as much as guff as I give to Ultramarine players, who, by the way, all deserve it, they're coming into the Heresy. They've got a passion project. They're part of the community.
Hilariously, welcome. I think he's the only Ultramarine who's immediately local to the Battle Barn.
Cool.
And that was part of the reason why he picked it up. He's like, okay, we're clearly loyalist deficient. And you're telling me these guys like supply chains. And I'm like, if you're
telling y'all the Ultramarines don't choose, you don't choose Ultramarines. Ultramarines choose you.
Oh yeah, he very much. I'm like, you don't care about the Roman theming or like,
nope.
Here's the suzerains with the eagle faces and the shields and the axes. He's like, right. Those are cool. Everybody's got cool looking stuff.
I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, part of what drew me to the Iron Warriors originally was purely as a kid being fascinated with trench warfare and big guns. So I can't really disagree with him.
So you couldn't say Iron Havocs for a while.
No, this was back in the early days of 40K.
So that Keep the Guns Firing poster that we've got out there right now, Alex got real salty with me, and he's like, you didn't tell me this was coming? And I was like, no. And he's like, well, now I need like 8.
I mean, that's fair. I hadn't told him either. And he just messaged me when he saw it. And he was like, what? I need this!
He's like, you guys been holding out on me. No, I think the response that we got last year, the response we're getting this year, I think is clearly a testament to you very clearly having your finger on the pulse of something a lot of people want very badly.
I'm very happy that people are liking the posters that we as a whole have come up with. And
the Alpha Legion one, I've seen a lot of people on the internet, not on our page, but on other pages saying that is bad.
Yeah, I've I've heard a lot of people or seen a lot of people talking about it. A lot of people have been buying that on shirts. Yeah, I think the two biggest selling shirts we have right now, which is not to say that we're selling a lot. So anyone who wants to jump on, please do. We'd love to sell more. Are the Alpha Legion shirt, the recruitment shirt, the I Want You for the Horus Heresy, and the Do Your Duty with the Gun shirt. Yeah, everyone seems to love those.
Well, we can sit here all night and wax poetic about this. Do we have any pre-orders to go on about? Or otherwise, do we want to talk about how Siege of Terra wrapped up? What are you guys thinking?
We've got
we do
one
have-
minor GW thing to kind of cover. I saw on the Citadel's Facebook page, and this is going to kind of drop the tempo a little bit. It looks like a lot of stuff is going made to order now. That was Heresy stuff. Sorry, not made to order. Not in stores anymore. And so we're looking at losing. From what I saw, it looked like the Sicarans, the Spartans, things built on Sicarans and Spartans, and the Predator chassis.
And
those are all going to go out of store.
And we had kind of loosely speculated that something like that might be coming, just pertaining to general stock challenges overall.
Yeah, but notice what's not missing, since we've done the negative, I'll do the positive. Mm-hmm. What's not missing is all of the infantry upgrades, and the assault marines and some other stuff like that. So the things that everyone has to have, to build the bulk of your army out, to build your line units, the Terminators are staying, all that stuff is staying.
Yeah. Okay. That's really worth mentioning, especially, we talk about the amount of conversion that goes into armies. If you are somebody who's building or operating Heresy on a budget, you can always snag some of those kits and try to kit bash your way into your various Legion-specific choices.
Yep, or pick up 40k stuff and use it that way. I mean, that's what I did for a lot of my tanks, are 40k conversions.
And like we've already said that, we have suspected for a long time that a lot of the Forge World style kits are, especially for the tanks, were gradually going away because they've been replacing with plastics. I mean, these
are the plastics. Longest... They're going to go. They're leaving the stores. So whereas most GW stores have had those plastic tanks in stock,
right,
those are going to be start phasing out.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I mean, you can also still get a Spartan in the Age of Darkness box, and Contemptor too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the normal stock from what I've seen is a Age of Darkness box, and then for whatever reason, like the Kratos and the Spartan loose, by themselves are always available, and then like a Sarkarian, but I never usually would see Rhinos and Predators in the store. I'd always see all the dreads like Leviathans and Contemptors though, and then usually there's always like the Assault Marines and the Mark 6, a lot of the Mark 6s. So,
yeah, it looks like we're losing the Spartan, the Cerberus, the Typhon, the Kratos, Rhino, or it's not Rhino, Vindicator and Predator.
Yeah,
and Sicaran, both Sicaran types.
I don't know. I have Kratoses and I actually like them. And the Spartans are usable, but like the Cerberus and Typhon, I think I've only ever seen like one or two of them played, and it's usually in bigger games. So I'm not sad to see them not stocked in the stores. I'd rather them stock more Rhinos or something that people use more frequently that they don't have. But yeah, that's kind of not cool that stuff is going away like from the storefront, but you'll still be able to get it.
Whatever the case, here's hoping that today's disappointment with stock being what it is short-lived, and that we can take solace and have the joy of what is in stock for as long as we're able.
Well, we did get some Heresy adjacent pre-orders are coming out for the next week.
Yes, that was for Legions Imperialis, yeah?
Yes.
Yep. I'm going to have a comment about that after you all talk about the Legions Imperialis stuff.
Okay.
So just go ahead and preview that.
Okay, so the big news is that we're getting the expansion book, which a lot of people have been wanting because a lot of the units that have come out didn't have rules for them. So we're getting the Great Slaughter, which is the Beta Garmin book, if I'm not if I'm not mistaken. So it'll have the rules for all that, and for Legion, Star Days, and Solar Auxiliary armies, and it's also going to have stuff for the Titans and Knights. And then we're getting a bunch of additional units. We're getting the Solar Auxiliary support, which is what do you call them? The weapons platforms comes with a bunch of those, and then the Cyclops kamikaze drones, and then a bunch of the tarantula platforms. So like there's anti-aircraft and las cannon platforms, and then with the what do you call them? The Rapier batteries. Excuse me. They'll have both types, the mortars and the was it the las cannons or the las? Sorry. Oh, sorry. It'll have the las guns on them. And then there's going to be the Legion of Legion Astartes support squadron, which I think was already previewed, but I don't think it was actually ever released. So it's going to have Contemptor Dreads. It's going to have Doradios. It's also going to have Tarantulas, and it's also going to have more Rapier batteries, except the Marine versions. And then you're also going to get, I guess it's a 4-pack of Malcador Infernus and Valdor tank destroyers, which very cool looking tanks. Hopefully that's a preview of things to come for our Solar Auxiliary friends in 28mm scale. And then you're also getting the Spartan assault tanks, a 4-pack of them, which, yay, very nice. And then you're getting the Great Slaughter expansion army cards. So like the portable rules cards for the set will also be out. It's 22 cards for all the detachments and new units. So that's all the new stuff coming out for the Legion Imperialis.
Dig it. So the reason I wanted to have a quick talk about something. I want to congratulate Mantic Games for being probably the biggest troll company ever created. If you all have not seen ads lately in your Facebook feed for Epic Warpath with a logo that says Epic in it and looks very similar to the old Epic logo, you need to check it out because the logo itself looks hilarious, and it is looking like a straight up, I don't quite know how to say it, not quite rip off, but
hot take. The way somebody introduced me to Mantic, specifically, this was Kings of War. It was, in today's parlance, we have Games Workshop at home.
Yes, that is exactly how it feels. They're kickstarting Epic Warpath, which is looking like their version of Epic in 40K world sort of thing. The same way that Warpath itself is a rip or homage to 40K, this is looking like a straight homage or rip or whatever to old Epic. It's obviously not current Legion Imperialis, but it definitely gives you the feeling that is what they are staring at and trying to steal a march from Games Workshop on. And especially with the way how close that logo looks to the old Epic logo. And even with the designers, it's got Alessio Cavator is one of the writers and the designers for it. So it's just hilarious to me.
I think it's worth noting that this is a reliable pattern for Mantic. They did it with Kings of War. They did it with Warpath, which is their 40K competitor. And I don't think any of us should immediately be surprised that now that Epic is trying to come back, that someone would launch a competitor to it.
I kind of figured they would.
Some form or another. I would say that that's also vaguely analogous to like Privateer Press spinning up Warma Hordes back in 5th edition, when Games Workshop made it very clear that they were distancing themselves as quickly as possible from the tournament scene. Here Came Privateer Press saying, we have an active tournament scene. We can have a tournament qualified volunteer in your store right now if there isn't one already, or all they need to do is sign up for it. That was extremely aggressively marketed, and broadly successful for the time that it was running, and successful. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, more power to them. It's just definitely riding very close to the edge with that logo, and it made me chuckle, and I had to share that. So sorry.
No, nothing to be sorry for there.
So has anyone other than me here finished The End and the Death Volume 3?
Yep.
I've read spoilers, so like.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've caught in on the synopsis. So we'll couch this here. I will probably insert a timestamp down to the end when we're no longer talking about this. But for right now, know that there may be spoilers ahead for The End and the Death, Volume 3.
I'm also going to go ahead and say there may be a bit of profanity in this section. So, Jacob, if you want to leave this in for this part, I think it's utterly earned. My main takeaway.
Hold on, don't accuse Games Workshop or this novel of earning anything.
Oh, no. I know this is going to be a huge spoiler for it, and I don't have a problem saying it. The Emperor killed Horus. It was absolutely and utterly unexpected. I mean, I did not see that coming. Wow.
No, not by a mile.
No, definitely not.
Somebody call M. Night Shyamalan. We've got a twist here.
Yeah, it was a huge plot twist for me. And the next huge plot twist was Malkador died on the throne to enable the Emperor to be doing everything, and then they entombed the Emperor on the Golden Throne. I mean, my God, just mind blown.
Did I miss that? Did they dead Malkador?
Oh yeah, they deaded Malkador.
Okay,
they straight up deaded him.
So he's now the.
They unplugged what was left of him, essence-wise. Basically, they brushed the Malkador dust off the seat and sat Big E down.
So I'm saying this is the only second time they've like deaded a perpetual, because they deaded Malkador, and then apparently the Emperor's wife got to like give up her spark and resurrect him, and then he sat on the throne, and he's now deaded again.
They've deaded 4 then.
Okay.
They've deaded Malkador.
Uh-huh.
They deaded Erda.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They have actually 5. Sorry, they have deaded Daemon Parantis.
Okay. There's 3.
They have deaded in this book. They deaded Old Person.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever the Emperor's wife was that allowed Malkador to come back that one time. So that makes 5.
Okay, fair enough.
Erda.
Yeah, I thought the Emperor
was done by Erda died at the hands of Erebus. I thought that was
not to my knowledge.
No, I thought that was Keeler that died with Erebus. No?
There's a lot of people who have died at Erebus's hands.
Yeah, but whatever.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I blanked. I lost connection for a minute there. Did y'all mention the fact Samus is somehow Logan?
No. I haven't mentioned that yet. But I will say that you should never trust You should never trust Erebus if he's anywhere behind you, especially not if he has a knife.
I think you should have stopped that sentence. You should never trust Erebus.
Yes. Yeah. And I've actually talked to some people, and I think I know what another poster is going to be next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Erebus is not only the architect of the heresy. He's the guy who killed the only word bearer I actually liked, and now he is Argyltal, and he did it by stabbing Argyltal in the back, and did the exact same thing to Garviel Loken. stuck him right in the back with that anathema, and killed him, and did it right in front of Ezekiel Abaddon, and I was so when that happened, I was like, I had to go back and reread that, and I was like, man, this makes me hate Erebus even more.
So I've got to just spitball, like, for those of you who are a little more invested than I am, how many loose ends do you think they earned tying up? Because some of these characters haven't existed in 40K, and they can't really leave them to exist in 40K because people like them too much.
Ooh.
Like,
So apparently there's rumors that Samus...
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there's rumors that Samus is going to become the next, or is the big bad that they're trying to find the keys for, which has been the echoes of whatever. And so they're like saying that Samus is going to be 40K Satan or something like that, and is going to try to reunite everybody and do all this other crap. If they pull a remembers who he is at the last moment, that will pretty much kill 40K. If he like gets good again, Logan.
So I don't think they really can, because it's not Loken himself. Erebus pretty much made it obvious that the act of the betrayal there at that moment is what caused a demon to birth. His murdering Loken didn't mean that Loken became a demon. It birthed a demon in the Imperium.
But it's worth highlighting, Samus existed before this, so this is our, like, Ryan Johnson Looper moment of what do I want to say, like, self-inflicted causality.
Yeah, he
it's
also
the same
goes
as
on
like
this little,
Slaanesh.
Yeah, it
kind of existed during the War of Heaven and things like that before it existed.
Yeah, so and Erebus pretty much straight up says that demons do not interpret the flow of time the same way that we do, which kind of plays into the whole you can jump into the warp in your ship and then emerge 4 years later or even before you left. The weirdness there. So it kind of plays to the warp being strange, and I get that, and I appreciate that. But it felt kind of ham-fisted in a way. The him birthing Samus through that betrayal, but I feel that there were a lot of loopholes or storylines that kind of got tied up, and there's a lot more that haven't been tied up. And the book, in fact, the 3 books, kind of opened up some more stories, the more loopholes that kind of, again, need to be answered.
I was upset that all didn't get a last line of coolness, like one last FU to Horus or something like that, before he got turned into Red Mist.
Yep.
I like the fact that John Grammaticus is now trying to achieve a Sisyphean task of going back through all of history to try and tie a little yarn together. Therefore, it can never be accomplished.
Yep, I like that too. So it basically expels John Grammaticus away from 40K forever, and I love that fact because I don't ever want to have to deal with him again.
Of all the perpetuals we did delete,
they didn't delete John Grammaticus.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know that
they just
we're
made
like
sure that he has to do everything.
It's the Sisyphusian task, but also all it takes is for them to just be like, I guess we're done with that. It's been 10,000 years. And then he's free to muck about in canon again.
I hope not. I really, truly hope not.
And you've also got all those Alpha Legion that are technically still on Terra. You've got the one guy with the melt-the-bomb on his chest that's technically still on Terra. You've got...
Yeah, I was going to say,
a lot of other...
who is it? Ingo Peck. That's the big, like, named character that people are like, he's just in stasis under the Golden Throne Room. That's fine.
Yep. And then there's the fact that there is a termite full of Marines just buried in basically cement in the termite who are waiting forever.
There was a little bit...
Sons of Horus.
There was a little bit of some of this type of stuff in the Carrion Lord, something like that.
Carrion Lord.
Where they were, spoilers for that as well, why not? Where they were chasing Dark Eldar through the halls of Terra and through the old siege walls, and they saw a bunch of stuff that
Oh, look, there's a termite. No.
Yeah. So there was they didn't go that far, but they really hinted at a lot of the weird stuff that they were seeing.
Yeah, they hinted at a lot of the 30K era defenses and marine casualties and stuff.
Stuff that
was-
had literally just like the wall caved in and no one got to see it ever again.
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, it also
So that kind of does link back to they could totally just randomly earthquake, termite comes up out of the magma.
Yeah. It also, the whole thing with Katrina, aka the girl who's with All, aka Sirenton Valentine, aka Moriana, aka the lady who is one who helped Dorn get allies to defend the Emperor and to rescue the Emperor's body on the Vengeful Spirit, is also the same lady who ends up being one of Abaddon's advisors during the Black Crusades somehow. Who also, and that's the same name, same character, who's also apparently one of the founders of the Inquisition. So there's a whole bunch of really weird.
Well, I don't think she was necessarily his advisor. It sounded like she was just like the Oracle at Delphi, like someone you would just go to ask weird questions.
Mirror on the wall.
Except he pulled her off the planet and put her on the Vengeful Spirit with him and the rest of his version of the Mournival for the Black Legion. That's in the second Black Legion novel by ADB.
Okay.
Which I hope now we'll actually see more of the novels in that series. Then there's characters who don't make sense what they do. Don't make sense how they're there.
I did not like still alive. How Armin was treated, where he was scared that he was dealing the same tarot card over and over, but he's too manly to show that he's scared. And then you had to have Keeler go, "I think you're scared, young man." He's like, "Well, I'm not. I'm totally a man right now. I'm not scared." I'm just like, there was that whole card fight to me was a little. We don't know how to do this, and we needed to tie the tarot to into 40K better.
So that to me really felt like a inadvertent shout out.
Yu-Gi-Oh?
No, not to Yu-Gi-Oh, but to Emperor's Australian Hyper Billiards. The thing from If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device.
I never saw that.
Oh Lord, it's one of the best episodes of that. It's Magnus playing Hyper Australian Billiard, basically Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, whatever. Against the Chaos Gods, and then the Emperor playing it against Chaos God for Magnus' soul against Tzeentch, and it's all just wonky. And the whole scene in the book made me immediately think of that. So well done, Bruva Alphabusa, wherever you are, you influenced the last of the Siege novels. Well done.
The other one that I thought was that horrible Sandman TV show, where they took that really good part from Sandman, where they're like imagining that they're a so and so, and I make the fangs of a wolf. Yeah. That whole, I don't know. I've saw some people saying they would have liked it better if it was just not their point of view, and it was
I agree
that it was the people like just watching, almost like watching Dragon Ball Z fight. Like you just see explosions randomly around the room, and these people are just like, we are so outclassed here, and then it just cuts to Dorn picking up the body.
Yeah.
But that would have taken half the book out. And maybe if they were trying to redo the book, all 3 books as a smaller package, you could do that way. But there were parts of that fight that I liked. One of my favorite parts was when the Emperor first came in and he goes, "What have you done to my son?" And Horus has that whole well, he's talking about me because I'm so important. And he's like, "Oh no, he's looking over my shoulder." Or he's talking about
the actual Chaos Gods, yeah.
Yeah, he's actually talking about you. He does care about you on some level, and you have fed up so badly, you have to die.
Yeah, and Litu being knocked back from the fight and landing at the feet of, I think it was Tzeentch, who just kind of looked down at him from monstrous levels above. Just looks down at him like, oh, a gnat.
Yep.
Yeah.
And y'all got the fact that Litu is the nod to LE-02, the first Space Marine.
Yep, the original miniature.
Yep.
Yep. It's there's a lot of stuff in there that's tying into a lot of things. There's a lot of stuff that's also been opened up for, or in my mind, would be very obviously opened up for a Scouring series.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that part where when the fight was over, the warp basically left, and then there was that tech priest who was like, "Oh, this is what flesh feels like again. I don't like this at all."
Lota Null.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked how it talked about the rot receding from the Tech Marine, or not Tech Marine, but the Mechanicus people. Yeah.
All I just picture is just the like snarkiest, pettiest like thing Chaos can do on their way out of the
Pick my
room.
ball and go home.
Is to just give all the Mechanicum the sensation of the itch that they can't reach.
Just for all of you.
Just that one wrong line of code and just be like, go ahead, replace all your flesh. You can't scratch the itch.
Yep, that fits. And then it definitely felt like the warp retreated, but like the war wasn't over.
Yeah. Well, there was a line I think was like they replayed the game, like the people kept redoing the fight on hollow tables later and found that if there were more traitors, that it was possible that they could have lost Terra even after Chaos left or something like that. Which I kind of like. It's not like, man, we were that screwed until everyone showed up. But at the same time, that also just says, yeah, y'all were that close and you still sucked at it.
Okay, look, as a primary traitor player, and always has been, if the Iron Warriors hadn't left, if Horus hadn't banned most of the Word Eaters, Word Bearers from being there, if Alfarius hadn't led his Alpha Legion into the stupid assault that made no sense, and if there were more Thousand Suns present, yes, I think it would have been over quicker and faster, but it wouldn't quite have been as epic in scale. And it wouldn't have left us with 40k that's coming, as we all know. But the way the book ended and the way stuff was done in this one, it really made me look forward to a Scouring series. I hope they do it. I think we all know they left themselves open for the possibility of one, and I would love to see it happen.
I mean, it's printing money. I mean, they've noticed that this works so well for Siege of Terra and the Horus Heresy as a whole. I also like the fact that the Siege, or not just the Siege, but the Heresy in general, was so large that we can still have, if some writer's like, hey, I want to write another Nemesis-like, or that one where the random one Chaos guy was like, I want to screw up this random farming colony. Like, there's a lot of intrigue and political drama and things like that can come out of the Heresy. And that's the other reason I like the Heresy, is humanity came so close to greatness. And this is one of Gulliman's lines in the later 40k books, is brushed greatness, the golden utopia with their fingertips, and was broken by the traitors turning.
Yep.
Into this, what they call it. He's like, it's basically the Catholic version of hell, and he's not wrong. 40k is
Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. I love everything Heresy related. I look forward to more, and I love the fact that the game's going to be able to continue even without the books there immediately for it, because we know that there's still so much more story that has not been told that can still be told in the Heresy, in the Siege, in the Scouring. Because while yes, the Siege went on, there was still fighting elsewhere in the galaxy, as we all know. It's just, I love Heresy. More power, more Heresy, more. Gimme. And one thing that did stand out throughout it all was how far how deeply Horus killed Sanguinius. It wasn't just that he killed Sanguinius; it's that he eradicated his soul, because of the way it was the way Sanguinius's body was described on the actual Vengeful Spirit when Garviel, Loken, and Litu and Big E got there. It was just described him as his soul as having never even existed, is how eradicated it was. That was I thought very telling, and hopefully they don't bring Sanguinius back in 40k, because that would be bad. The end.
I think you'll see others before him. Let's just
put
it that way. There's very low apples they could reach for before him. Let's just go that way. Especially with
they could easily
hear me out. I think they have to keep him dead, quote unquote, if you want to keep stakes balanced in 40K.
Well,
They can bring Dorn
like,
back and give him the claw, because each
Well,
son is coming back with something. And so, the Dorn can come back with the claw. Supposedly,
Korax.
Korax is crazy. He's like half demon prince now or something.
Yeah,
that I keep
like
seeing.
half demon.
Yeah,
I don't-
And
If you look at where they're at right now in the new storyline, I think the next most logical person to come back is actually going to end up being Vulcan.
So I'm just looking at this from the perspective. We know that Alfarius and Omegon are like super turbo dead gone. We know that Conrad Kurz is super turbo dead gone.
Yep.
Yes, Horus is gone, but very clearly Abaddon is being propped into that hole, narratively speaking. Or maybe the better way is to be saying, like, merchandise speaking. If you look then on the Loyalist side, we've got Ferris, who's definitely super dead, and now Sanguinius, hopefully very super dead. And so that's my expectation, is that if you had 18 Primarchs, you're going to hard scratch 2 on each side, or the equivalent thereof, and then that's what you're going to roll with in 40K for the foreseeable future.
But like on the trader side, you have already 3 of the demon Primarchs back.
Yeah.
Only 2, isn't it? Magnus
Angron,
and
Magnus.
Oh, that's
Angron
right.
and-
Yeah, they did bring Angron back. So I'm still with you. They're gonna continue to bring loyalists back. I'm not calling that into question. I'm just saying I don't think Sanguinius is gonna be on that list.
I don't think he is either. But like, as I said, I mean, like the new series, it looks like they're going into fight Necrons, and I mean, I don't know if y'all have kept up with that with Tansy and the Infinite. I guess isn't the one.
Trazyn,
He's the one that has the menagerie.
Yeah, and originally it was quote unquote just a Grey Knight who was in his collection, and yeah, they'll probably put a Lost Primarch in his collection just to.
Well, I thought they said it was an abnormally large Space Marine that was darker in your complexion and color and stuff like
Well,
that.
it depends on what edition you're reading, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's about as
Yeah.
consistent as any other piece of
Oh, I know.
Necron lore.
But so basically, yeah. And then you also I was kind of surprised that they didn't bring Russ back already. To be honest with you, with them bringing Magnus back. So
I expect he'll come back this year or next, honestly.
yeah, I mean, I could see that. I don't know
Um,
what you're going to end up doing with Korax though, if them saying he's kind of basically turned into a crazy demon dude.
Who knows? What I am looking forward to is more returning demon Primarchs. I'd like to see a redone or a new done Perturabo. I'd like to see Lorgar show up in 40K
That could be
as
interesting.
as the demon Primarch. I think that'd be interesting. There's so many different possibilities, and I think it'd just be fun and cool. There's so many characters from the Heresy series and the Siege that are still alive
Oh yeah.
at the end of it that just have open stories who aren't in 40K that we don't know their tale, how it ends. And I'd really like to see closure on a lot of those people.
Well, I mean, you should, in in the scouring. I mean, you're going to see, in theory, you're going to see a lot of that on at least on the loyalist side, like some of the, not necessarily the Primarchs, but like the higher up named people. A lot of the scouring, that's what that involves. So,
Yeah, I mean, we know what Eskellan and Raldoran and Nesser Emmett, we know how they end up. I'm talking about people like Azaleus Paraxa, the current number 2 of the Sons of Horus, who's not present in 40K, but has been present since, I think it was the second book of the Heresy series. His name was mentioned, and he's been around that long, just as a generic captain way back at the beginning. And now he's the captain of the second company and Abby's right-hand man.
There's a lot of like second and third founding characters that we know that never got mentioned.
Yep.
right.
Like the Mortifactors was one I was looking at for 30K some, and he was never mentioned. And there's a bunch of Ultramarines that were never mentioned. So it's entirely possible that we're going to see more of these later as the scouring comes up, or possibly other stuff.
I don't know. There's just stuff I'm looking forward to.
Be cool.
Yeah. One thing I'm personally planning on doing, and that I actually encourage others, listeners, cast members, etc., is I am going to go back and start it again at the very beginning of the Heresy series, and I'm going to read them all the way through, from start to finish, the Heresy series, back through the Siege of Terra. And I know it's going to take me at least a year to get done with it, but that's my current plan. Yes.
That wouldn't be bad for an audiobook.
Yeah. I'm just going to go back and read every bit of it again. Except for I'm not going to retouch. I'm not going to touch Battle for the Abyss again. And I'm not going to read the what's that other horrible one?
The Space Dinosaur one, man.
Yeah, I was about to say dinosaurs.
Damnation of Python.
Python.
Yeah.
I understood what they were trying to do with that. It was just so badly executed.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to tie that into the 40K, the Apocalypse release at the same time. And even the Apocalypse release was just like, didn't even give that book.
Yeah.
Well, they just talked about the cask, or like the Black Legion looking for the cask or whatever on the planet or whatever. Anyways,
Yeah, so that's my current plan is the siege is over, the heresy is ended. Time for me to go back and it's all done, reread every bit of it, and then just end up with more ideas for heresy stuff. Because I know that's what's going to happen. I already know.
So we've been talking about all this now. Like, I know this is more of like a 40K plot thread to worry about or chase. How exactly is the Ordo Malleus going to respond when Korax shows back up? Like, I'm sure they're going to hand wave it and bury it, but it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, the Imperial Truth is garbage, and the Primarchs are really just demon princes. We're just not as evil yet, allegedly.
Yeah. I mean, they had the same thing happen when Gulliman came back. I think we discussed this before. I was really hoping for an Imperium division when 40K did that, and that might have kept me in. Because you could have had loyalists and you could have had hyper loyalists in that we're not trusting that that's actually Gulliman. We're going to keep following the Emperor. Then you could have had what you have for 40K now, and then you still have traitors. So therefore, you almost end up with 3 quote unquote human factions, and could subdivide that as almost like they did with Ynnari, which they ended up screwing up in the books anyway. But that would allow you to have multiple different ways of running every army, and you could sell subsets of things and have micro codexes again and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's an all new time period for us to see what goes forward, and it's just going to be different.
But that's also the big thing is that, as you said, you can still, there's other places going back during the heresy, during the 7 years or whatever, and fill in stuff that wasn't talked about too.
Yep.
That's what a lot of my fluff is.
Well, I mean, that's like so far those rule books that the 2 campaign books that are the 1 campaign book and the 1 coming. That's what they've done. They're backfilling.
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
So before I drop the spoilers over tag, or who knows, I might get to drop that as the intro to this question. Where would you land on overall satisfaction with the heresy narrative? Obviously, you mentioned you want to go back and reread the whole thing, and there are some pretty broadly accepted lemons. But what's your overall take?
Ooh, are you asking just me, or are you asking everybody?
Oh, the whole show.
I'll start it off. When the Heresy novels first came out, I got the first one, and I immediately fell in love with it. I've been reading various 40K novels and fantasy novels off and on through the years since it. I mean, I've got the original Gaunt's Ghost novels when they first came out in trade paperback, and they are yellowed with time at this point. They're 20 plus years old. I loved those. I loved some of the crazy novels that came out in the 90s. But when I first got the Heresy novels, I was amazed at how cool it was. I loved it. I loved it not being just pure bolter porn. and I have followed it ever since. Every single novel that dropped, I owned it within a week. Every single bit of stuff that came out for it, I owned it as soon as I could. I love everything about the Horus Heresy, fluff-wise, except for obviously the stinkers. But there are obviously bright spots and low spots and low points for the writing. I think it could have been improved in certain areas, but for the most part, I would call myself entirely satisfied with the series and mostly satisfied with how the siege went. While I can't call it perfect, I can definitely say that the cohesive storyline across 60 or 70 books at this point, I would give it a 9 out of 10. That's my overall impression.
Yeah, I think I'd hold really close to that. There's a lot in that when this started, as some of the books came out to be, it went back and forth. As we said before, this Heresy started out as we're going to make 3 books. Okay, we're going to make 8 books. Okay, we're just going to open up the series and see what let it talk. And so, as it came to the end, I was really worried that it would be made for a modern audience. And we can go down that rabbit hole if we want, but I know we're trying to stay somewhat not political on this. There's a lot of media recently that has seemed to almost not like the fans. And I was really happy that even the characters that got killed didn't get killed in a way that made you go, did you just hate that guy? Like, did you just not like anyone that liked that person? So as the books went on, as the authors changed, as everything went forward, I agree. I think that it was very well held together for what it was. It wasn't rushed like the Beast series was. It was allowed to play out. Maybe in the beginning it was allowed to play out a little bit too much, and then it was tightened up on. And so we got a lot more momentum once we hit book 15, 20 plus. And then into the later books, it got moving even faster and faster and faster. And that's the way the Heresy went. If you look at even the old fluff, it was like, yeah, we need to do Istvan, and then we're going to kind of nap about for about 8 years, and then we're going to hit Terra. But it was probably from a game lore perspective, or a not like just pure random sci-fi. I think it is probably one of the best pulled off marketing gimmicks in the world.
Yeah. Obviously, the books are a marketing gimmick for the miniatures. They are a miniatures company.
Yeah, and I've been very heavy 40K. My wallet has got an Aquila on it. My wedding ring, bring up my wife again. My wedding ring was an Aquila. And when I got that wedding ring, my wife looked at me and said, "Is that because you like 40K more than me?" And I said, "No." So, I'm sitting here under a giant Aquila flag, and I've got a Palace of the Terra art print, and I've got all of Duncan's posters posted around the wall, and I've got other art prints from around the world posted on the wall, and it's GW pulling off the capital H hobby with gusto, and I don't think that there was a better way it could have been done.
I'll take one little.
I think there's ways you could improve parts of it, but I don't think it could have been done better.
Yeah, there's obviously parts you could improve, but I don't think it could have been done better. And obviously, it's been a success for them because we're sitting here doing a podcast about it. And whoever's listening to us right now, you're listening to guys talk about the non-hobby part of this hobby. This is, I think, the part that binds all of us together as fans of this.
Yep.
Jack? Jamie?
I don't know how to read.
There's audio.
There's audiobooks, Jack.
So
I don't know how to listen.
I will say that I started with the series and read everything as it was coming out. And I want to say that probably around, because I think there's technically 56 novels, if I'm not mistaken. No, more.
I don't honestly know.
I'm not counting the novellas. I'm saying like the straight up novels. I think there's 56. So it was about novel 40 where I just kind of like hit a wall, and I've been slowly, when I can, doing the audio novels while I'm doing work at work. So I'm not totally 100% caught up. I know how it all ends up. Same thing. I haven't started the Terra books yet, so I wouldn't say I'm necessarily one of the best people to comment on the Terra stuff. I know what happens because I've looked at the synopsises and stuff like that. But overall, we knew how it was going to end before it started.
Yeah, are you trying to tell me that the fact that the Emperor killed the Horus was
I
not
know.
a spoiler to you?
No, it wasn't. I know I have psychic powers and I can prophesize and stuff like that, so it didn't shock me that much.
I mean, that's fair.
I'm in league with Magnus.
Sure, we'll go with that.
He did do something wrong though. No,
he did nothing
right.
No, Magnus did
nothing right.
Magnus did nothing wrong. He was told to do nothing, and he did that wrong. So the statement is absolutely true. Jake, what do you think?
I think that I am overjoyed that you guys have had such a positive reception to it. I have not been on board with the direction that they've taken the narrative, but admittedly, I haven't read a lot of it personally. I have kind of perused synopses, and I don't know. For John saying he felt very strongly that there weren't a whole lot of characters, if any, where he just felt hated for liking that character. That runs very counter to my experience, which I think kind of underscores the way things are going for me.
I said when they died. There are certain characters that I think were pulled off wrong or bad.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very challenging for me to overlook how dirty they did Alfarius and Omegon. But I don't know. I don't know. It's an issue that I'm too close to, and I can't be fair to it, if that makes sense to say. But that's why I say so readily, so adamantly, you guys are clearly excited, and I'm thrilled for you.
Works. I think that's kind of where we're at with it. I know John and I are both the big lore nerds for everything, so it kind of fits as where we find a lot of passion for it at. Well, at this point, guys, do we have anything else really we want to discuss, or we want to call it a night and call it a show?
I think, unless I hear otherwise, that probably wraps us up. Hearing no argument to the contrary, listeners, thank you for joining us for this, the 69th episode of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. Remember, stay accountable to your hobby and to your buddies, and we'll see you here next time.